We've got to talk about something that's going on in Washington that should have every freedom-loving American paying attention. You see, our enemies, and make no mistake, they are enemies, are building up their nuclear arsenals as we speak. Russia is already at parity with us. China is racing to catch up, and they aren't playing games. Meanwhile, in our own Congress, there are lawmakers trying to pull the plug on one of the most critical legs of our national defense, the Sentinel program, the replacement for our aging Minuteman III missiles. Now, I've watched the full debate on this, and what I heard left me both frustrated and fired up. Some members, like Congressman Garamendi from California, and a few of his Democrat allies, are asking why we need 400 intercontinental ballistic missiles. They're questioning the cost. They're talking about other priorities. And they're even calling the idea of land-based nuclear forces outdated. Let me tell you right now, folks, this is not the time for weakness. This is not the time to nickel and dime our defense while our adversaries are stockpiling weapons capable of wiping us off the map.
And we will now turn to log number 5513R1 by Mr. Garamendi. For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
At the desk.
Clerk will please distribute the amendment. Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The chair recognizes the gentleman for the purpose of explaining his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Heads up, we're changing subject matters here. We're not going to be talking about the border or who's going to pay for what. We're going to talk about strategic arms. We're going to talk about the Sentinel program. We're going to talk about the Minuteman III program, at least for, well, I guess 3 amendments. I know that all of you are shocked. Both my Democrat and Republican colleagues are shocked that I would once again venture down this road after having been, at least in view of some, my Republican members, properly disciplined in previous years. However, never give up. Mr. Chairman, an opportunity for you to once again try to discipline me. I resist that. Nevertheless, here we are. This bill deals with something that we have written into the National Defense Authorization Act for several years. And as we've looked at this issue of the Sentinel, the new replacement for the Minuteman III missile, and the issues of its non-McCurdy breach and extraordinary cost increases, we keep coming back to the question of why, which is my favorite question. Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we not doing something else? And it comes down after listening to the various organizations that we have tasked with giving us guidance on these strategic arms issues. They keep coming back to, well, we are required to have 400 intercontinental ballistic missiles. And so we go round and round here. We tell them we've got to have 400. They come back and say, well, if we got to have 400, then we got to have 400 Sentinels and the like. And I'm going, wait a minute. Why do we have to have 400? Well, nobody's explained why 400 is a magic number. Why 400? Particularly in consideration that we do have other platforms for nuclear deterrence. We have F-35s that will soon be in Europe that will be nuclear, that will and could be nuclear armed. We have other fighter planes in Europe that are presently nuclear armed. The B-21 seems to be working pretty well. And we're going to have a whole bunch of those. I think as many as 40 some in the next decade, some of which will be available by reading this morning's press, available almost immediately. Right now, the use of training, they can be modified to handle nuclear weapons. We have we have submarines at sea. We have the new Columbia submarines that are hopefully going to be going forward. And Mr. Courtney, and I see my colleague from Virginia is here now, and the two of them are damn well determined to get it done sooner than later. Well, good. Get on with it. Let's get those done. So we have many, many methods to deter. We have the B-52s that are going to be repurposed. And I'm coming back, why 400? It turns out that the intercontinental ballistic missiles sitting in a silo are, in at least my view and the view of many, not the best deterrent, because it is a classic use it or lose it. If there is a threat, those silos have to be attacked immediately or else they're lost. It turns out that the attack will probably, almost certainly not be successful. A large number of them will not be disabled, but the entire Midwest and a good portion of America and the world would be seriously disabled by that nuclear attack. So what I'm trying to do with this amendment is to ask the question, why? So that each of us would ask that question, why do we need 400? What's magic about that number other than that's what we had 7 or 8 years ago? That is propelling us down the road to maintain those missiles, Minuteman III, probably for another 15 years, and bring the Sentinel on along. When we can, for example, the cost of the Sentinel, somewhere $170 to $200 billion, could buy any number of, I don't know, you want a couple hundred B-21s? Do you want 10 more Columbia-class nuclear submarines? All of that is possible with the money for this. Mr. Chairman, I want us to ask the question why, and this amendment forces us to ask that question. Thank you for the extra 8 seconds. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes himself. My good friend from California knows how much I appreciate his commitment to this topic, but he also knows I don't agree with him. The Trump administration doesn't agree with him, nor did the Biden administration agree with him. Similar measures designed to halt the program have been defeated either in committee or on the floor since 2021. The Sentinel program is a critical part of our effort to modernize the nuclear triad. This amendment seeks to stop that program. Consequently, I have to urge my colleagues to oppose it. And with that, I recognize the gentlelady from California, Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I promise this is the last time I'm speaking for a while. I swear this is not only because I have a bet on what time we're going to end. I thank my colleague from California, Mr. Garamendi, for introducing this important amendment. Look, being good stewards of American tax dollars is one of Congress's most important responsibilities, and with our debt ballooning, that duty is more urgent than ever. So I would expect that there would be broad consensus on this committee about the alarming fact that the Air Force's $100 billion ground-based nuclear missile program, the Sentinel, has overrun its budget by 37% already. That spike automatically triggers the Nunn-McCurdy statute, forcing the Pentagon to prove the program's worth or kill it. This means we're going to see an estimated future cost of at least $130 billion and many years of delay. This is unacceptable. Look, it's long overdue to rein in the astronomical costs of the Sentinel program and reassess our nuclear posture in its entirety. Increasing our land-based nuclear forces to outnumber the PRC and Russia is an archaic strategy that doesn't match the realities of our new multipolar world. And even if one believes that ICBMs are useful targets in the event of a Russian nuclear attack, why not opt for a cheaper nuclear sponge? Some, or maybe even all, of the existing force of Minuteman III ICBMs can be life extended for decades more and at a much lower cost. By deferring the Sentinel program, which is all Mr. Garamendi's amendment does, and extending the existing Minuteman III force, the United States could save at least $37 billion through the mid-2030s, according to one CBO estimate. That $37 billion with a B is money we could redirect to real readiness needs instead of doubling down on a Trump-era boondoggle. We can still take seriously and address the threats posed by our strategic competitors without fueling a never-ending arms race and compromising our fiscal responsibility. I swear to God, I am so sick of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle calling themselves the party of fiscal responsibility when they balloon our debt by $4 trillion and then won't even do standard oversight and making sure that our taxpayer dollars are being spent to good use. So I urge my colleagues to support Congressman Garamendi's amendments so we can be both sensible and strategic with taxpayer dollars. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair now recognizes the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Believe it or not, I will yield to Mr. Garamendi at this point. I was told to do that, just so you know. Mr. Garamendi.
Congressman Garamendi kicked off by basically saying, why do we need 400 ICBMs? Why not fewer? Why not just keep what we have for another 15 years? Why spend $170 to $200 billion on the Sentinel? Sounds nice, right? Save a few bucks? Except, here's the reality. Our Minuteman III missiles were put in the ground in the 1970s. They are over 50 years old. Multiple studies, and not just from Republicans, have confirmed they're at the end of their life. They cannot be extended indefinitely. This isn't like fixing up an old Chevy truck. These are complex strategic weapons that require modernization. To be reliable. Democrat Representative Sarah Jacobs jumped in to back him up, saying the Sentinel's budget overrun -37% so far is unacceptable. She suggested we just extend the life of the old Minuteman IIs for decades and call it a day. And she framed it as fiscal responsibility. Here's the problem with that. Fiscal responsibility doesn't mean cutting the very systems that keep America safe. It means cutting waste in bloated social programs, not cutting our nuclear deterrent. Thankfully, there were strong voices pushing back. Republican Representative Don Bacon from Nebraska reminded everyone that once ICBMs are in place, they're actually the cheapest leg of the nuclear triad to maintain, and they have 95% readiness. That's the kind of reliability that keeps our enemies second-guessing any first strike. He also pointed out a hard truth. To take out our 400 missiles, an enemy would need to hit each one with 2 warheads. That makes it extremely difficult to neutralize our nuclear forces. That's deterrence, plain and simple. And let's not forget, former Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, a Marine's Marine, came into office hoping to eliminate the ground-based leg to save money. He ordered the studies, and they all came back with the same answer. The ICBM force is absolutely essential. The opposition loves to talk about modern threats and multipolar worlds, as if Russia's hypersonic missiles and China's nuclear silos aren't part of that world. The truth is, weakness invites aggression. When America steps back, our enemies step forward.
Mr. Chairman, I was so anxious to get into this debate and move away from the previous one that I wasn't listening to what amendment was actually called by our terrific staff down there. And apparently I gave a great argument for the next amendment, which I will not take 5 minutes to explain.
That's what I figured. Thank you.
The Lord giveth and taketh, huh? In any case, this amendment deals with the non-McCurdy Sentinel situation in which the Sentinel program was stopped pending a non-McCurdy review. This amendment deals specifically with the Milestone B, which is before the Department of Defense at this moment. And what we've seen from the Department of Defense in the Biden administration, and it appears also going to be in the Trump administration, is to just kind of blow past the detailed analysis that we need as policymakers about what to do here. Do we proceed with the Sentinel? Do we repurpose and furbish the existing Minuteman III? Those are fundamental questions. And by the way, they're about a $200 billion question over the next decade. About 150, 170 of that for the rockets and the infrastructure, the silos, and the rest for the bombs from the NNSA and entry vehicles, as well as command and control. So we need to think this through. And what this amendment does is to clarify and expand the information that we need from the Department of Defense. Now, I'm not at all happy with the Biden administration. They just kind of shrug their shoulders and say, oh, it's okay. I expect that the current administration might do the same. But if we write into the NDAA, no, don't just blow through this, do a detailed analysis. And I'll just give you some examples. Is the program of record an affordable solution to the DoD needs? I just talked, unfortunately for the wrong amendment, about that question. Do we really need 400? Or are there other ways of doing it? The cost estimates. We need to really hone in on that. The Biden administration didn't do that as they moved forward with that. How do we fund it? What's not going to be funded? And so forth. But this amendment forces the department to be more fulsome and more providing more useful information to ultimately the deciders here, which is us. Do we move forward with the Sentinel? Do we maintain the Minuteman III for the next decade? Actually, for the next 15 years, which will be required under any circumstance. Even if we move forward with the Sentinel, the Minuteman III is going to be around for at least another 15 years and operable, if you believe that this is an appropriate deterrent. So we got to be smart. We're talking about a vast amount of money. I made the argument about all the other things that we could purchase if you're interested in nuclear deterrence for the same amount of money, which I would argue, and if anybody wants to get in that debate, let's have at it, is far more of a deterrent than a bunch of missiles sitting in a silo in the Midwest. So we ultimately must reconcile our infinite desires with our limited means. Even with the $150 billion, we still have limited means. That means making hard decisions about how and where to spend the taxpayer dollars. Billions of dollars are at stake here, well over easily $200 billion over the next several years. Can we deploy that better elsewhere? I think all of us could raise an argument, yes, we could. Could we still have the deterrent? Yes, we can. Be happy to have that debate with any and all of you. So I want us to use our intelligence. I want us to use our intelligence, our gathering of information, in a way that creates security for our nation. And I would argue, as I did in the previous amendment, that the Minuteman III and the Sentinel do not increase our security. They actually increase our risk. And I can go into that in detail. Basically, it's use it or lose it. We came very, very close in the past to a nuclear war based upon incorrect information in the given to the system that would have required that those missiles be launched immediately. And once launched, they're going to go wherever they're intended to go, and there's no calling them back. All of the other deterrent systems can be called back if there's an error. This one cannot. It's extraordinarily dangerous. Mr. Chairman, my apologies for getting so excited about the wrong amendment, but I'm excited about this one too.
I know you are, and it's genuine. Chair, now recognize the gentleman from Tennessee, Dr. Desjardins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to be clear, I will be speaking about Amendment 5513, but not to worry, I will also be speaking about 5510, and I'm excited about that as well. I have great respect for, and I appreciate my colleague from California's dedication to having this debate every year, but I will again oppose this amendment. I don't think we need to have a prolonged debate on this topic because this is an issue where we simply have a fundamental difference in opinion about the Sentinel program and the ICBM leg of the triad. This amendment would cut off funding, all FY26 funding, including the reconciliation funds for the Sentinel program until it reaches milestone B. But funding is necessary for the program to reach milestone B. So this amendment is really just about stopping Sentinel. As my colleague from California knows, I do not support that. The Trump administration does not support that, and the Biden administration did not support it either. We also continue to receive consistent testimony from our senior military leaders that this program is absolutely essential. So I will again oppose this effort to stop the Sentinel program. I would note that a similar amendment was rejected last year by a vote of 9 to 49. I urge my colleagues again to vote no, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair, I recognize the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, I now ask unanimous consent to refer to the ranking member.
Gentleman, ranking member is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And actually, all three of these amendments that Mr. Garamendi has are connected in one sense. I mean, one definitely deals with the overrun at the Sentinel program and the challenges that are there. Then talks about the number of ICBMs that we have to have, restrictions on that. And then we have the last one is on the pit production challenge that we have. And I think, Ms. Jacobs sort of outlined the problem here, and it is connected to the larger defense budget. We are headed towards an unsustainable fiscal path. And I realize we don't want to think about that. We just want to say, well, gosh, in an ideal world, the defense budget, we should be at 5% of GDP. So we just magically say, get to 5% of GDP, and we don't look at the details of, is that realistic? And what are we spending the money on? We are spending a massive amount of money. We are planning on spending a massive amount of money on nuclear modernization for the submarines, for the B-21, for the PITs, for the ICBMs. Can we really afford to do all of that, especially at the cost that the Sentinel is bringing our way? And I don't think we can be confident that that's not just going to keep going up, as are other programs. And we have other needs in national security. Missile defense is a huge one. The president has his Golden Dome thought. But even outside of that, we clearly have needs in the area of missile defense. We have needs to increase our basic munitions and missiles as well. Autonomous systems, we all agree, are crucial. We do not make enough of them in the United States. No one can really disagree with that fundamental point. And shipbuilding. We're way over budget on every single shipbuilding contract we have, and everyone in this committee, not everyone, most everyone in this committee seems to think that we need a lot more ships. It doesn't add up in any realistic way. So I think overall what Mr. Garamendi is asking for us to do here is to do a nuclear posture review, to go back and take a look at, in light of all of those expensive, in light of all the cost overruns on all of these programs, is there some way we can meet our national security needs without going completely and totally bankrupt? It is a question that should be asked and analyzed. And I think these three amendments, if passed, would put us in a position to force that conversation. And to be ecumenical about it, it has been a bipartisan case of wanting to just close our eyes and shut off our ears and pretend that this isn't happening. Administration after administration has punted on this issue. But we need to stop punting and address the costs. And I think all three of Mr. Garamendi's amendments do that. And I urge support. And good news at the close here, that means that I don't have to speak on the other two. So I'm done and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does any other member seek recognition on Mr. Garamendi? Mr. Bacon is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My first chairman, when I got elected in 2017, said every time the gentleman from California talks about nukes, I have the task of responding. And I've not been relieved of that yet. So I'm going to respond to both just real briefly. First of all, I would agree the Air Force needs to do better on this. They're going to have to get their act together on fielding this. It is costly, though. You got to replace the launch control, build a new launch control facility and a silo. We haven't done that since the Peacekeeper missile, so they've lost a little bit of that expertise. The Minuteman III was put in 1970. It's 55 years old. It cannot be extended. We've had multiple studies look at it. It is at the end of its life. And so we have to accept the fact that we're going to have to transition the Minuteman III to the Sentinel. I would also point out that the ICBMs, once they're installed, are the cheapest to maintain, and they have the highest readiness rates. They typically sit at 95% readiness. And that's what you need for deterrence. And no one's going to want to pick a fight with America if you got 400 ICBMs. And every study I've seen, to take them out, you have to put 2 warheads on each missile or each silo. That is hard to do, and it makes it very hard for anybody to target our nuclear forces effectively. So I think the ICBMs are needed for deterrence, for the long haul. Russia has a nuclear force matching ours right now and is more modernized as we speak. And China is building a nuclear force to match ours. So I think we need this as much as we've ever have. Thank you. I yield.
Gentleman yields back. Does anybody, gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Moulton's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to associate myself with Mr. Garamendi and Mr. Smith's concerns because this program has been vastly over budget, has run into a lot of problems, and the Air Force is not doing a good enough job. But I also want to associate myself with my Nebraska colleague, Mr. Bacon's remarks about the foundational importance of the Sentinel. It is time that we replace it. It does save taxpayer dollars in the long run. It's why there has been bipartisan support for this program. And more fundamentally, it forms the foundation of our strategic defense. And I want to make that point, Mr. Garamendi, right now because it will become relevant when my amendment comes up as well. It's a very important point that we keep in mind and don't suddenly forget when we're 4 amendments down the road. At the end of the day, this strategic deterrent is important to keeping us safe and has been important for 70 years. I'm a big fan of Secretary Mattis. General Mattis didn't agree with everything he did, but he was my division commander in the Marines. And I know that he actually came into the Secretary of Defense office hoping to be able to get rid of the ground-based deterrent leg of our triad. He knows it's very expensive, as Mr. Garamendi says. He knows that it needed to be replaced, and he said, wouldn't it be convenient for our budget and our security if we could do away with it? But he commissioned that study, and it came to the same conclusion as studies under Democratic and Republican presidents before and since, which is that this ground-based leg is important. And so that's why, as a ranking member on strategic forces, I respectfully disagree with my colleague from California and appreciate Mr. Bacon's remarks about how important this is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does any other member seek recognition on Mr. Garamendi's amendment? Seeing none, no further debate on the question occurs. The question now occurs on the amendment offered by Mr. Garamendi. So many as in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. Opinion of the chair, the noes have it. A recorded vote's requested. A recorded vote is postponed.
So here's where I stand, and I hope you do too. The Sentinel program is not just another Pentagon project. It's a shield that keeps America from waking up one morning to a mushroom cloud on the horizon. This isn't about chasing Cold War ghosts. It's about making sure the next war never happens. Yes, the cost is high, because freedom isn't free, because deterrence works, and because the cost of being unprepared is far higher than the price tag of modernization. Patriots, we've got to stay vigilant. We've got to hold the line, and we've got to make it clear to our representatives and to our enemies that America will remain strong, ready and unafraid to defend herself. Leans in closer. If you agree, share this video. Subscribe for more straight talk the mainstream media won't give you. And remember, we don't bow, we don't break, and we sure as hell don't apologize for keeping America safe.